Hi, my name is Chrissy. It's May, and this is my May garden tour update. Specifically, it is the end of May. I did try to make a garden tour update video at the beginning since I did an around beginning April garden tour, and I wanted them to be about a month apart. But it is the end of the school year. This teacher is tired, and we're just going to make do with what we have. Regardless, you are going to see a lot of change within the garden, not just the plant height and overall size, but also the garden size itself. We have added to it so that way now we're gardening on between 850 and 950 square feet of gardens. I guess I have to double check one of the areas, actually the area that I'm in now, because I can't remember if it's 30 feet long or 40 feet long. But regardless, we're going to do an overview and then I'll dive deep into each garden bed and what's in it. So this is the overview of the garden. Again, if you watch the April tour garden video, you're going to see a whole bunch of change, specifically in this first bed, which we'll go over now. So over here in this first bed, this is primarily artichoke. There is a trellis that does attach to the next one, and this is going to have watermelons on it. The watermelons are currently pretty small, and you will notice that there are some watermelons of different sizes. That's because I started some earlier than others. Bugs ate them, and then I needed to replenish. And so again, that's why you have some slightly different sizes. I did make a mistake though. And I think that some of these are loofah because I could not remember when I didn't see any of my starts coming up after the first time that I replanted. I had to redo the seeds again, and I couldn't remember what I tried putting here. And I was like, I think it's watermelon, but actually, I think originally it was a loofah. So we might have a bit of a mixture. But anyways, these artichokes are so much bigger than last time. I think before they were maybe like 6 inches tall or something, but they have really just expanded out. Um, you can see some ladybugs throughout on here as well. There's one I'm staring at right here. Now, I did release ladybugs last year, so I'm not surprised to see them. There's also a plethora of mint going on, which I did not plant. It's growing through the beds because mistake number one that I made when I expanded this garden was I was lazy and I didn't take the time to dig up the grass underneath. And so all of this mint came up. I'm not too upset about it though, because we can use it. My husband makes mojitos. He makes a really good blueberry mint lemonade that we like to take when we kayak. So there are things to use it for, even a pest repellent too. So not too mad about that. I do have a rhubarb over here. It's kind of choking out some of the strawberries, and only really two of the strawberries that I planted in this garden bed. Oh, actually, I see three. So three of like probably the 10 strawberries that I planted made it. I'm not sure why, but I'm wondering if maybe I planted the crown of the strawberry too deep, and so it experienced crown rot. One other thing that I did forget to mention is that I do have snapdragons growing amongst the mint on this side of the garden bed. This is, I want to say First Lady snapdragons that I just got at Home Depot, but one of the seeds produced a variegated snapdragon. So I am very curious to see what that'll look like because it's so pretty. At the front of the garden bed, I have violas that I made from, or that I planted from seed. These are Johnny Jump Up violas, and they're just looking nice and big and just full of life. I will say we are having an extremely cool May. It's currently about 60 degrees, which is about like 10 degrees lower than average. So I think our cool weather crops and flowers are just doing a lot better because they're having more time to grow. So I expect next year that will be a little bit different. So within this second garden bed, again, it's right next to the one that we had just talked about. The other side of the trellis is still watermelon slash loofah. We'll see what eventually decides to pop up. It also has some Johnny Jump Up violas, but there are some poppies mixed in throughout. So this is going to be, I want to say, a mother of pearl poppy. It could be a Hungarian blue. I do forget which I sprinkled, but I might have actually sprinkled all of them. So they haven't blossomed yet, clearly, and that'll be a fun surprise to see what color the poppies turn out. These are not bread seed poppies though, so I can't use them to make poppy bagels or lemon poppy seed cake or anything like that. So if you are curious, you do need to get a bread seed poppy, so that way you can collect that seed to eat them. Here is my peach tree. It blossomed very nicely in, I think it was April, as you can see in the April garden tour video. And I did notice that there were some peaches growing on it from the blossoms, but it's probably only a year or two old. And ideally, you want to give fruit trees about 3 or 4 years before you decide to let the fruit grow fully. And the reason why is because the stems are just too narrow, they're too thin, and the weight of the fruit would just easily make the branch um, cut off, whatever word I'm trying to think of. Snap, there we go. We do have a butterfly bush over here from last year, so it was able to survive the winter. And we also have some garlic. These are soft neck varieties, but I do know that probably in about 4 weeks we should be ready to harvest. I know this because I do have some hardneck varieties, and hardneck produces a scape, which I'll show you in a second. And when you see that scape, it tells you that you're about 4 weeks away from getting to harvest the onion. Again, though, these are soft necks, so you're not going to see that. And I have more poppy seeds. I have some foxglove in here, and I also have some really pretty stalks. The dark pink one is antique brown. The purple one is, I think it's like marine quartet. And then I also have one that I don't believe has come up yet, and that's called Haru no Kayagi. I'm gonna put the term below. But those are the 3 varieties that I planted, and those are all from Baker's Creek. I did forget that I have a chamomile growing here. This I did not plant from seed. I bought this from a local nursery, and I also have an iris that I transplanted over here. One other thing I forgot is I do have some lavender growing over here as well, amongst the iris poppies and what looks like a surviving strawberry. Okay, and then in this very last bed, this has a lot more vegetables in it than the other. Well, I guess the first one had a lot of artichoke, but the middle one has a lot of flowers. And then this last front garden bed has a lot more of like your cool weather crops. But we'll start on this side. I do have another trellis. Again, it connects to the middle. This one is going to have Hill's, I think it's called Hill's Best Cantaloupe or something like that. I've heard good things about it. One of the things is that it will naturally fall off when it's ripe, and that just seems like a game changer to me because you don't have to guess if it's ripe and then pick it too early, and then you've just basically ruined something that took a while to grow. So I am excited to try that one. Same thing though, I have violas, except here I also have not just the Johnny Jump Up violas, but antique layetta, I think is how you say it. Probably not though. I really like this color. It's not a typical viola color that you see. Johnny Jump Up is a lot more common, but I just think it's so pretty. It's like this ballerina pink color. I really do like my pastels for the most part. I don't have too many vibrant things in here. And I just think pastel is really pretty, makes it feel very magical in the garden. I have some more poppies, some more irises, some more of the stalks. Again, same type of varieties, the antique brown, marine quartet, and Haru no Kayagu. We'll see. That's not pronounced right at all. My peach tree over here is doing really well. This is much taller than my other one. Still have poppies. I don't think this bed has any strawberries though that survived, but lots of poppies, garlic. Now this garlic does have scapes on it, and I did harvest some yesterday, which I am planning on preserving somehow, whether it's making garlic scape cream cheese or powdered garlic scape or even garlic scape salt. So there's a few different things I want to try. Just want my husband's opinion on that first. I also have some radishes over here that I've already harvested, and we actually made some quick pickle radishes with it for a beef broccoli Korean bowl, and it was so good. I have Hale's Best, no, not Hale's Best. I have White Hailstone. I have Early Red Scarlet Globe, something like that, and then I have Japanese wasabi as well. I also have celery in here, which I didn't think would do too well, but it is. This is called the Utah Tall, so I'll let you know how that goes. But so far, I'm really pleased with it. You'll probably see some other things in here. Those are just weeds. Those are not supposed to be here. I got a weed. So this space over here is what we call our berry patch. We do have 3 blueberry plants. They did not look so good when they first started because I think they were really stressed. I didn't amend the soil at all, and they probably didn't get enough water because I did buy them probably August. So yeah, they weren't looking too good, but they survived the winter, I'm very happy to say. And they're all green. They're putting on some berry growth, and that makes me really happy. Also, against this fence, we have a whole bunch of raspberries, and the raspberries too are also putting on berry growth, which makes me really happy. Okay, so the next bed that we'll go over is the one right next to the berry area behind the first 2 front garden beds. And this one was supposed to have a whole bunch of strawberries too. I just did not do too well with strawberries this year. This is probably my only good strawberry plant. This is a weed, but it's kind of pretty. I did decide to go ahead and plant some eggplant here. If you'll notice though, the eggplants are completely riddled with holes, and that's because they are being plagued by flea beetles, which like a lot of the nightshade crops. So honestly, I'd rather have them infect my eggplant than my tomatoes because I really love tomatoes and I feel like there's a lot more that you can do with them. But what I did go ahead and do was do an application of nematodes. I got like a trifecta blend and sprayed the whole garden. Basically, what nematodes are beneficial insects that, like microorganisms that live within the soil, and they're going to eat any grubs that could potentially impact your plant. Grubs, larvae, eggs, things like that. There's a whole list of the different insects that they attack, and flea beetles were on there. Personally, I don't want to spray my garden with chemicals, and I feel like doing nematodes is a way to kind of fight back against some of those bad critters that are causing me some difficulty. I did plant some basil here. I also sprinkled in some cosmos since I did start some cosmos, but not enough. And I really want like a bushy kind of cosmo looking thing. Cosmos were in my wedding bouquet, and so I am trying to recreate that. So I've been planting flowers that were in my bouquet within the garden. I thought that would be kind of cool. Here's another chamomile plant. And then behind this trellis, I call this the trellis tunnel, or like the green bean tunnel, which you'll see in a second. I planted a whole bunch of foxgloves. They're not super tall yet, but they definitely have grown a lot in the last few weeks. So I'm hopeful. I think that these will look really nice. I don't remember the types of varieties that I planted, but when they start flowering, I'll let you know what they are. And then I also have a ground cherry. On the other side of the trellis, we have green beans. And the first area right over here, it's 2 cattle panels worth of green beans. These are rattlesnake pole beans. Then on this trellis, I only have 1 cattle panel, and this one has purple potted pole beans. So this is a garden bed that we added. I can't remember if it was in the last video or not, but I did plant asparagus seeds in here, or asparagus seeds starts in here. They didn't do too well, so I went to Walmart and I just picked up some of the same variety, the Mary Washington asparagus bare roots. And I am happy to say that they are growing. Now with asparagus, you might have heard this already, but in case you have not, asparagus does need to um, basically be in the soil for I think it's 3 to 4 years before you can harvest it, because it needs to form a really good root system, so that way when you harvest it, it can bounce back. If you try to harvest it the first year, you're really destroying that colony basically. You need to allow it time to establish itself. So doing bare roots is nice because it's already a year old and you're shaving off a year. So instead of having to wait 3 or 4 years, you're now waiting only 2 or 3. So that's kind of nice. So again, here's the berry area. I have my bench. And then here is the fig tree. The fig tree is not blooming or leafing out at all. However, at the bottom it is. So it's kind of making me think that this is a variety that grows on new wood, and you could kind of chop it all off during the winter time and it'll still regrow back. I don't know the variety of this because this was here when we moved in. But again, there's so many little shoots. So we'll definitely have figs, but it's not coming off of the original plant. So right here is one of my current favorite spots in the garden, and that is the sweet pea trellis tunnel. They have just grown so much. Again, if you watch the April garden tour, which I want to say was taken on April 5th or something like that, so early April, they were about 6 inches tall, and they have grown so much since then. Again, it's the end of May at this point. They are taller than me. You can't really see that, but again, I'll do an overview. They have so many different flowers on here, very pretty, and they're already producing peas as well. When I do harvest these sweet peas, which is going to be pretty sad, I am going to have this become the zucchino rampicante squash plant. I suffer from squash vine borers and squash bugs, but the vine borers, those were notorious. Those were really bad. So what they do is they bore into the stem of the plant. The adult will lay eggs on the very base, and so you can check like every day to try to find those itty bitty eggs, but likely you're going to miss some. And so what you're going to notice is that the leaves of the plant are starting to turn yellow and brown, and just overall doesn't look healthy. And what happened is the egg hatched and the larva bore its way into the stem of the plant, and it's now living within the stem because squash plants have hollow stems. If you ever like slice one or rip it by accident or on purpose, you'll notice that again the tube is or the stem is hollow. And so again, it lives there. And as it starts to eat the plant, I want to say it releases a toxin too, and it makes the plant start to die. But you'll notice the boring hole, and you'll notice a yellow kind of stringiness coming out of it. It's poop, but it's true. And that tells you that there is a squash vine borer in there. Hope is not lost though. I was able to harvest some, they were the pumpkins. They were the baby boos and the Jack Little pumpkins. But what I had to do is I had to take a scalpel and I had to cut into the plant where I saw the borehole, or sometimes you can actually see a darkness within the stem, and that's the larva right there, or the like caterpillar. You'll cut into it, and then with a pair of tweezers you can pull it out, and then I just squash it with all my vengeance, because how dare it do that. Now if you're watching this in the fall, or just maybe you're writing information down, you do not want to compost your squash plants if they've been infected by squash vine borers, because there is a possibility that those squash vine borer larvae or whatnot. Ooh, you fell over. I'm so sorry. Anyways, there is the possibility that they will overwinter and then you'll have that same issue the following year. So what you want to do instead is just burn it. Again, send those boot balls to hell. We don't like them. Over here, I actually have one started already, the zucchini or rampicante. This is going to create a really pretty trumpet-like squash, so I'm very excited about that. Now, the reason that I chose this variety is because it's in the curcubit family Moschata. I'm probably not saying that right. Let's just be honest. Now, this variety or this species of squashes have much thicker stems. And because of that, it makes it a lot more challenging for the larva to bore into, and they're considered more vine borer resistant. Now, this is my first year where I will be attempting to grow it, so I'll let you know if it's true or not. But if you're in an area where squash vine borers are a thing, you need to try to, at least from what I've heard, you should try to aim for squash plants that are the curcubit moschata. One other thing to note about it is if you have multiple moschata squashes, they will breed within each other. They will mix. So you could, the next season, if you save seeds from that plant, you could have a hybrid. If you instead grew the other two varieties of curcubits, the Peppo or the Maxima, they will not hybridize with each other. So if that makes sense, each kind of grouping, the Peppo, the Maxima, and the Moschata, um, inter they only breed within each of their groups. I'm not saying that right, but you can have a Peppo next to a Maxima, and they won't cross pollinate. Oh my gosh, it's called cross pollinate. Anyways, they won't cross pollinate. Um, and you'll have the same species. So again, you can plant close if you have different groupings, but if you have a whole bunch of moschatas because you struggle with squash vine borers like I do, then there is a possibility that your plants will cross pollinate. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. But yeah, I planted carrots on the other side, and as you can see, they're doing really well. I did go ahead and thin them out, which hurt my heart when I did it, but um, it's going to make for thicker carrots because they don't have to compete for nutrients or space or anything like that. The carrots that I have are the kaleidoscope blend. You can find them from Walmart or Target or anything like that. Nothing special about the carrot itself, but it is a rainbow variety. So those just aren't ready to eat yet, but I do kind of wish that I planted them here since they are such a thin crop, and then I could use the other side for something else. On the other side of the sweet peas, I do have eggplants, and these are looking a lot better. Now, these might be Black Beauty eggplants, but I'm pretty sure those over there are the Black Beauties. These, I think, I do forget the name. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It's something like Lista or something like that. But these are going to be a little bit thinner, and I think they have like white striations on it. But while they do have flea beetle damage, it's not as bad. I mean, this one's a little bad, but this one's actually pretty bad. But the plants themselves are a lot bigger. So I think these are going to be a lot healthier because they're further along than the others. So that's my little bit. Again, here's my squash plant, which I have another one on the other side. Eventually, though, I do need to add seeds. These are just the ones that I started, but I need to go ahead and start those seeds so that way by the time I take this down, I can train the starts up it and kind of get the next season going a little sooner. Over here, and this is on the other side of the sweet pea tunnel, we have our greenhouse area. We have completed the foundation. You'll notice that we've leveled it with these cement blocks, and we've dug a channel underneath so that way it's not touching the ground. We're going to fill that in with some rocks, and this is just the dirt that came out of that. But next to it, we have a pond. It is a little green. The plants are still young and they're still kind of filtering that water, but I don't want to add any chemicals in here to clean, because what I do is when I manually clean it and I like suck kind of the gunk out of it, or the gunk out of it, I use this water to fertilize my garden beds, because it's got fish poop and plants and just different kinds of nutrients in here. It makes it a really good source of fertilizer for the garden beds. um, I don't know the varieties of too many of these plants. I'm not too great with water plants currently, because this is my first year with it. But if it does well, I'll let you know. I'll try to do a better job of getting the species for you. But I do have this solar powered fountain, and I will recommend this if you're doing a natural pond, because you need to have some kind of water movement in order to um, the sun went away, so it's not as bright or not as powerful. But you need to have some kind of like device that'll break the surface of the water, because that's how dissolved oxygen gets into the water. And of course, fish need water too. Now they're all hiding, so you can't quite see the fish, but you can see it's a little dirty on the bottom. So I do have to clean this again. I cleaned it this morning, but it got a little murky, so I let it settle, and there's still a little bit more that I have to do. I will say though, I know that these two are lilies, and one of these is an iris ball, and these three balls came from Petco. So if you are looking for a place to get water plants and you're not sure, you can try Petco, but also just try your local nursery. This, it says right on the tag, is a yellow flag iris. These like to basically be in shallow water, but obviously they're not completely submerged in it. But again, I don't quite remember what everything else is. Okay, this is my one green stalk. I do have two. The other one is over here. Now that we've completed the foundation portion of this, we are debating either putting the green stalks flanking the door over here. My husband is able to pass through here with his lawnmower, but it might be a little bit better for him if it goes and flanks the fountain. So I'm not quite sure. What is nice though is that the roof of the greenhouse will slope down like so, but obviously higher. I'm just trying to give my neighbor privacy. So it will slope down, so all the rainwater will trickle into the pond, hence why it's back here. And you won't be able to see it from the front of the garden, but um, that's why we put it back here, is just that way it'll catch the rainwater. But I'm thinking it might be nice to put the green stalks over here, so that way it'll also catch some of that rainwater in the top portion, which is the rain collection spot. But I just have some flowers. I love this one, very pretty. I have some mint, more violas. Some are ready for me to collect the seeds. It kind of reminds me of the Stranger Things monster. I don't know. I have lettuce that I could fully chop off. I am noticing though that there was an earwig. Ooh, folks, excuse me. There was an earwig in here. Anyways, I have some dill, some what is this called? Kale. I harvested this, as you can see. I'm gonna make some frozen kale to put in soups and stews this upcoming fall. So that should be good. Rosemary. But yeah, bunch of herbs, bunch of lettuce. I need to harvest a lot of the lettuce. And that's how this one's doing. And the other one is very similar. Again, harvested the kale. I think this is a sunflower, which I'm not exactly sure how, because I did not plant sunflowers at all. Actually, not too big of a fan of them. Okay, that wind is rough, and hopefully it does not blow you guys down again. So this is the first of the four original garden beds. These were in the center of our old garden, if you remember those videos. If not, you can always go back and check it out. Those YouTube videos are available. But this is the other side of the trellis as well, that contains the beans, so the bean tunnel. And the other side, as mentioned, had the rattlesnake pole beans. So this side has the purple potted pole beans. So I wanted to alternate them, so that way I had about equal amounts of beans from each variety. And these are growing extremely quick. I did not think that they were going to grow this quickly. Now it's only these really center ones that are, but they're a lot taller. So far, I really like the purple potted pole beans. I also have a parsley plant over here that overwintered and it's already blossoming. I probably should pick that so that way it continues to create parsley, but really don't use it that often. Mainly just have it here for the swallowtail because I want to say dill and parsley are the two plants that swallowtail need to like basically a host plant so the caterpillars grow on there. Swallowtails are one of my favorite butterflies. They're really pretty, and I have a tree in the front yard that they love because it flowers a lot. It's gorgeous. Right here I have another plant that overwintered. This is a coneflower. I don't know the variety, but it has a whole bunch of different colors on it, which I really like. On the other side, if you can still see me through the trellis, I have another coneflower. Same variety, I do know that. Again, I just don't know the type of variety. Then over here in the back, we have Brussels sprouts, which did not make Brussels sprouts at all. And we also have cabbage at the front. So wasn't successful with that. I probably could have planted them earlier and maybe they would have gotten a better start. But yeah, no such luck. These though I did grow from seed. So that is pretty exciting, even though I didn't get anything, because sometimes that happens. And you know, weather dependent, you might get some, you might not. But it's just cool that I was able to at least successfully grow the plant, whether or not I was able to grow the crop. In the middle, I have some foxglove, which again are pretty small. I had a vision of really pretty foxglove flowers flanked by the Brussels sprouts, and then in the front, the lower cabbage, but it's all good. All right, in this other bed, again, still in the green bean tunnel, this has the rattlesnake pole beans on this side and then the purple potted pole beans on the other. So each trellis, I alternated the type of bean, but it's just those two beans. Again, I'm not too thrilled with the growth habit just yet, but maybe it'll make up for it later. So I'm not going to give you a full review, just that's my experience so far. I have some really pretty snapdragons. This is the Orange Wonder from Baker's Creek. These ones down here I'm not too big of a fan of. I just really don't like that bright red color. Even though I more prefer pastels, this is such a pretty, vibrant color. I'm fine with that. I just don't really like that bright red. That I got from Lowe's, and I don't remember the variety, but it was like close to $2 for 3, so it was a really nice plant to get. So then I have more snapdragons. Basically, this whole 4-foot section of this 8-foot bed is snapdragons. I have a little nasturtium, and then I have some broccoli. These I did not grow from seed. I did try, and then something completely obliterated my starts. They were way too small and just not ready to go out. And I also didn't put up a low caterpillar tunnel for those broccoli starts. And so I think they just had way too much pest damage and they were like done within a day. I was so upset because it took me a while to grow, but I've learned. Anyways, I went to Lowe's and I decided that I would just purchase some, and it was actually very cheap. It was about $5 for a 6-pack of broccoli. So I felt like, you know what, I'm not going to cry over seeds that I started, but they didn't yield anything, because getting 6 plants for less than $1 each, that's pretty good. So this is the Lieutenant. They are starting to head up, which is nicely, but they did have some bug damage because I was not able to put, I shouldn't say not able to, I didn't want to put a caterpillar tunnel right here. I almost wanted to make an experiment because the other side was covered. I wanted to see if that would help or not. To be fair though, I'm using 2 different varieties. So was it the best experiment? No, because it didn't really have a control group. This side, you'll notice that there are no longer, or the low caterpillar tunnel is no longer here. That's because the heads of broccoli were starting to form. I felt like if I did get bug damage, it was fine. And it's just a little easier for me to see if the broccoli is starting to flower. I had 6 plants here. Again, starts. These were the green magic, and I love the green magic. It grew so much quicker, but again, it could be because it wasn't in the, or because it was in the caterpillar tunnel. Um, my husband and I actually harvested some of this broccoli, and we made Korean beef bowls, like I mentioned before, with broccoli and quick pickled radishes from the front. And then I also have some green onions mixed throughout the garden that I used to top it, and it was so delicious. Because I did harvest some of them, I took out those broccoli plants just on the one side so I can make room for the peppers. But before I talk about the peppers, I will just say that the leaves are also edible, and we don't have chickens yet. I'll talk about that in a second. We don't have chickens just yet. So therefore I didn't want to waste the leaves. And since they are edible, what I'm going to do, you guys are falling. I'm so mad. I just bought this yesterday. I unboxed it today, and the part for my phone broke when the wind knocked my tripod over. Honestly, I might be able to just use a different adapter, so it's probably not, or it's definitely not lost, but it sucks. All right, anyways, harvested the broccoli leaves, and I'm drying them, and I will be powdering them, so I have basically like a kale powder, but it's broccoli powder, and I can use it in smoothies. So that way it's just some extra benefits within a smoothie if I don't want to put in kale leaves, or if I don't have fresh kale leaves on hand. Well, since the wind knocked over my tripod and you guys can't hear me if I walk away from my camera for too long, we're just gonna put you on the selfie stick and I'll walk around with you. This next bed is going to be the tomato and pepper bed. Now this mirrors the other side. This is the one that was supposed to have strawberries, and it's got the green beans and the garlic, and then we have the 4 in the middle, and this is basically the side. It's right next to our shed, which we have to clean out. We inherited someone's thrift treasures, so they're not actually treasures though. They're like, it's a whole thing. I'll update you later. But anyways, this has a whole bunch of peppers and tomatoes in here. The peppers are starting to produce peppers, which is nice. Currently I have banana peppers. I don't have enough to pickle though, because I want to do like a big batch of it, and I like pickled banana peppers on sandwiches and things. So I kind of want to wait to harvest until I have enough, but maybe this is just, I should do an earlier harvest, so we'll see. I also have some Calabrian chilies, chili pepper, or peppers that are growing, which I read you can use for powdered, it wasn't paprika. Was it paprika? Maybe it was crushed red pepper. One of those you can use, but my family, my grandma and my grandpa are from Calabria, and so when my dad visited my grandma's childhood home, he brought back some of the Calabrian chili pepper seeds, and so those are what those are. So it's really cool. My dad's really excited for it, and I'm hoping to be able to give him some of that, maybe make some like pepper oil and stuff like that. And then at the very end I have, just some bell peppers, but again the majority are going to be in this bed. On the other side, which by the way, we get to this trellis, which again has the silver slicer cucumber, which butts up to this bed. On the other side are the tomatoes, and I don't know the varieties. I know what I planted, but I don't know where I planted them. I have Dr. Witchy's, I have pink, maybe, I don't know. I have Dr. Witchy's, Paul Robeson. I have Aroma, I have what's the other one? It's another paste one. It's like a Saint, I'll look it up. I have one that has pink in the name. I have a orange ox heart, I have a Cherokee purple, I have things like that. I just don't remember where I planted them because I started getting lazy with the labeling. And then I was like, you know what, it'll be fine, because it'll be fun to figure out what the tomatoes are when they start producing. Why did I do that? But oh, I also have a like Razon Blanc type of cherry tomato, and I have a pink bumblebee cherry tomato. One thing though that I forgot to mention is last year, hang on, I gotta go over here. Last year, oh, I didn't even talk about this bed. This bed has onions in it, onions and garlic, and they're doing okay. Definitely a lot more growth than before. I'll talk about them in just a second. But I found, can I turn this? I found in the bed that if you watched my old garden tour video, I had some tomatoes right here. I found tomato volunteers, which makes me so happy. And on the other side of the garden, this used to be the edge of the garden before we fenced in our property. So again, the garden was a lot smaller, and I just kind of threw some random things against the fence hoping that they would grow. They didn't that year, but let me see if I can find it. Hang on, where'd it go? Oh, okay, here it is. But I noticed that some of the plants that I threw, the tomatoes that I threw, have volunteered. This one I tried like thinning out. This is kind of leaned over. There we go. Look at that, a volunteer. So that made me really, really happy. Okay, you can kind of tell I'm getting tired because I'm getting loopy. Anyways, so this bed I did want to mention with the onions, they are looking a lot better than the April garden tour. I was really kind of like feeling defeated because they just look super small. I started them in early January and I planted them out in February, which was recommended, and they weren't doing well at all. But I'm happy to report that they have put on a lot of growth. Not every single one popped up, but the ones that did are doing a lot better. One thing that I am noticing is a lot of leaf curl, and I don't think these will do well, but I did learn that it's because of insufficient or too much water. So kind of like when you have a really big shift in your watering, that's what happens. Not all of them have that though, so I do think that I'll have a decent harvest, but definitely is not like a year long. Okay, this is my second season here. We're not aiming for year-long production just yet. This is a, oh, what is this? This is a thyme that I grew from last year. I want to say right. I just sniffed it. No, that smells like oregano. This is an oregano that I grew last year, and it is doing really well. Looks nice and bushy. And then here are my garlics, and these garlics have scapes, so these are hardneck. These might be the Killarney. I have to admit though, I didn't save the packages that these came in, and I don't remember the different varieties. All I can tell is that this is a hardneck, and I did buy a Killarney because that was one of my favorite places in Ireland. All right, the two new things from April that were not here. I have a corn bed now. So we decided to put the corn bed here just to give us a little bit of privacy as it grows up, but I'm also wanting to do the Three Sisters method with it. If you haven't heard of the Three Sisters method, what it is basically a way of companion planting, so that way all the plants are extra successful. So what you do is you first plant the corn, and then once that gets established, you plant the beans, and the beans are going to kind of wrap around it. So you do have to get a pole variety. I forget, I'll list the one that I got. I haven't planted them just yet, but they're tall enough that I probably should start planting them now. That's the second sister. And then the third sister is a squash. I'm doing a watermelon though, it'll service the same thing. It's gonna trellis along the ground, and then that will provide, whew, it's windy. That will provide the kind of mulch and the shade for the plants, so that way there's still moisture in the soil and the plants can grow well. I did kind of get a little ahead of myself and I swapped sisters. So I did the third sister, the squash plant, which in my case I'm doing watermelon. I did that one first, but I do need to go ahead and do the green beans soon. So that's the first area that's changed, and this will be on the other side of the greenhouse, which we will eventually do. I'm just not sure the order. The other thing that changed, no, this was in the last video, but I didn't plant it. So we have potatoes growing in this bed and this bed. These are less than 6 weeks old. I know that because when I did the video, I didn't plant the potatoes then. And I think it was a little bit until I did. So they're at least, or at most, 6 weeks old. And you can already see how much growth has occurred. This middle bed has nothing, just weeds. And then the last bed has extra tomatoes because I felt like what I planted wasn't enough. I think I have like 10, ooh, where's the bed? I think I have about 10 plants right there, and I just felt like it wasn't enough. All right, so we have a whole bunch of tomatoes mixed in with marigolds because depending on the variety of marigolds, the roots are able to host nematodes. But I'm pretty sure that's the information. Something about nematodes, but they're good companion plants. I don't remember the varieties of tomatoes. I do have a lot of the pink kind. And I think this is one of them. This is my only tomato growing in the garden so far. And that looks pretty good. So, hopeful for that one. But yeah, all of the tomatoes looking really good. And lots of flowers on them too. There's a flower on that one. And then over here we have potatoes. And we got, I think, 2 different kinds. My favorite kind of potato is the Yukon Gold. So a lot of these are Yukon Gold, but I also saw a purple potato, and that is, I think, what's growing over here. So I'm really excited. Look at all of the potatoes. Once they flower, I think it's 4 weeks after that. I want to say it's about 10 to 12 weeks before harvest total from when you plant it. I gotta double check though, but yeah, pretty exciting. And then over there is our compost pile, and that's the garden tour. So one last thing that I'll mention under the shade of this tree is that yes, we are getting chickens, which when we bought the house, we did not think we'd be able to because we're not zoned for chickens. So I emailed our board of supervisors, and I highly suggest if you're in this same scenario, email your board of supervisors. What ended up happening was I went to the meeting, I spoke at the meeting, just shared from a citizen's point of view why these chickens are beneficial, not just because of the nutrient-rich eggs, but also all the other impacts like manure, compost, less yard waste. They eat ticks and lanternflies and things like that. And after 3 meetings, 1 initial Board of Supervisors meeting, 1 Planning Commission's meeting, and the last Board of Supervisors meeting with a public hearing, they voted, and I think it was like was it a 6-1 vote? 6 yes, 1 nay. It was basically a landslide. Every single citizen that talked to the Board of Supervisors, they all had positive things to say about a backyard chicken amendment. There was no one that came to the Board of Supervisors meeting that had anything negative to say. So I think that really helped. And why I want to share this with you is because, again, you have a voice, you have a vote, and while you might not be the Board of Supervisor people that do go ahead and vote,
they are your representatives, and so if you and the other people in your area are sharing why you want this ordinance to change, you could have an impact. So currently, as it stands, we can only have 6 hens, which it's just my husband and I, so that's fine with us. And that all takes place in August. So we are getting chickens. I've pre-ordered them, so they're going to be a local chicken hatchery place. They're not going to be shipped in the mail. And I'm getting 2 Isa Browns, 2 Buff Orpingtons, and 2 Easter Eggers. I will need name suggestions. We do have a few ideas that we're leaning towards, but I'd love if you could comment down below if you have any suggestions about what we should name our 6 ladies, and what we should name the coop too. This video is long enough. Thank you for watching it. Please subscribe if you would like to. I will post a June one, and I'll also try to do some maybe like chores and whatnot. We'll do a greenhouse build, we'll do a chicken build or chicken coop build. So there's lots going on this channel. It is a young, new channel, but again, there's a lot going on. And if you're interested in my teaching things, I do have some classroom tours coming up and classroom setups. So a lot happening. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.